What's up, guys? Bryan Lebo here with your November Las Vegas market update video. Well, we managed to survive it past the election, I guess, kind of. Well, as we wait for some finality on that front, it does appear as though the markets haven't crashed, and COVID aside, everything seems to be moving along on track, right? So let's go ahead and dig in and find out what happened last month leading up to the uncertainty of the election. Okay, first up, our last month's sales. We ended October with 2,965 sales. This turned out to be an 11% increase over last year when we sold 2,671 homes. Going back to 2012, we've never sold this many homes in the month of October. So yeah, sales are pretty fantastic right now. Okay, next up are median home prices. On the screen now, you can see that yet again, we broke another record with median home prices, reaching a staggering $340,000. This puts the median price at a whopping 11.5% increase over the median price the same time last year. All right, now let's check in on the inventory levels. As you can see, our inventory dropped last month by roughly 6%. Currently, we've had 8 straight weeks of declining inventory. Typically, inventory starts normally dropping Thanksgiving through the new year. Now, the scary part is that I had to go all the way back again to 2012 to find a time when our inventory was this low, going into Thanksgiving, that is. All right, I'll talk a little bit more about that part later. Okay, now let's check out our new metric, which is housing absorption. Now, this illustrates to us how different price segments of our market are performing. Now, the higher the percentage, the higher the corresponding demand is. Now, on the low end of the market, you can see that 57% of homes under $250,000 are currently under contract. Now, this jumped immediately after quarantine in June, but this number has been relatively unchanged since July. Next, we have the $250,000 to $500,000 segment. This is the largest price segment by volume and is almost identical to the low end at 55%. Unlike the low end, however, this price range has slowly become more competitive since August. Next, we have $500,000 to $750,000. You see a big drop here, resulting in 43% absorption. Now, this is still 6 points higher than it was in August, but you can see things, loosening a little bit overall. Now let's jump to $750,000 to $1 million. At 34%, we're dropping a bit more, but still a 4% increase since August. All right, now it's time for Crazy Town. Check out $1 million to $1.5 million. In August, this was only 25%. Now it's up to 35%. It's crazy to think that it's easier to sell a $1.5 million home now than it is to sell a $750,000 home. Okay, last but not least, let's look at the ultra luxury over $1.5 million. Coming out of quarantine, there were only 11% of homes under contract. Now, that number is doubled to 22%. So, as crazy as it sounds, over the past few months, it's truly the high end of the market that has benefited the most from this increasing demand. All right, now let's get to some news before we wrap up. As much as I am utterly burned out talking about politics, let's talk housing politics. Now, as part of Biden's revised tax plan, he wants to provide a $15,000 tax credit. Keep in mind I said credit, not write-off, credit, for first-time homebuyers. Now, forget about Republican or Democratic politics for a second. Let's just talk objectively. What's wrong with me? This isn't unprecedented. In 2008, Bush signed the Housing and Economic Recovery Act, which provided a $7,500 tax credit. The following year, Obama signed off on that, raising it to $8,000. Now, this really did help spur housing. But think about the context. Back in 2008, nobody wanted to buy a home. Damn near everyone that owned a home was bleeding equity on a monthly basis for the next 3 years. So finding people to purchase these short sales and foreclosures was somewhat difficult back then. But this bill did help put first-time buyers into homes, and it did help recover the housing market. But this is 2020, not 2008 anymore. The real estate market is on fire. Honestly, we don't need help. Supply is low, demand is absurdly high, and affordable housing is in hyper demand all across the country. Now, on one hand, this $15,000 stimulus is designed to help disenfranchise first-time buyers who've been priced out of the market. But let's be real. Adding more buyers to a market segment that's already hyper-competitive is guaranteed only to raise prices further and then make a hyper-competitive market super hyper-competitive. Think about it this way. Most first-time home buyers are purchasing on the low end of the market. The low end of the market, as we just saw, has the highest demand and the lowest percentage of available supply. This is nationwide. It's no revelation that home builders are no longer building so-called affordable housing because it's more profitable for them to build larger and more expensive homes. So if supply is constrained and we add more demand, any college freshman Econ 101 student can tell you that the byproduct is simply increased pricing. So rather than solve the problem you're addressing, you're actually inflating that same problem. In the end, the people you're trying to help simply are going to wind up paying more for the same home. Meanwhile, current homeowners and investors will simply build more equity. Meanwhile, since we're not building affordable homes, you're putting these potential buyers into apartments and corporate-owned single-family home rental properties. Now, why do you think all of this affordable housing that's being built these past few years have all been high-end apartments? Why do you think that single-family home rentals are in such high demand? Maybe instead of giving money to people that will simply drive prices up on themselves, we find ways to subsidize affordable BLM land for home builders to build more affordable homes and condos for purchases. A nation of renters isn't good for anyone, except a few select hedge funds and investors that own them. But perhaps we could create jobs and stimulate the economy by building affordable communities people would want to live in that are subsidized by the government through land and development tax breaks. Now, I'm no politician, but giving people money to raise prices on a product already in hyper demand just seems pretty disastrous. All right, off that one. Last but not least, let's talk about short-term/vacation rentals. I get inquiries constantly from investors wanting to purchase short-term rental properties. Well, if you don't know, it's pretty much impossible in Las Vegas anymore. Only the city of Henderson now allows it. Even Henderson has a 90-day moratorium on vacation rental registrations right now. As you can imagine, Henderson residents have been complaining about the influx. As a result, the city of Henderson's city council is considering stricter regulations this very upcoming week. So here's a few of these proposals. A ban on using pool or spas between 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. That's just hilarious to me, and good luck enforcing that one. Now, no parking on the streets unless the site parking is full. Think the driveway and garage. Again, good luck. But here's the kicker. Properties cannot be rented any more than 21 days per month. Then properties must have a front-facing camera, and the registered contact must respond to all complaints within a 30-minute window. Finally, rental properties cannot be within 1,000 feet of each other. So let's just be real here. New vacation rental properties are pretty much just dead at this point. Most of the desirable areas in Henderson have HOAs. Therefore, you can operate a vacation rental anyhow. Now, of the non-HOA neighborhoods in desirable areas, most of them already have a high saturation of vacation rentals. Now, with 1,000 square feet of separation between, that only leaves a few properties per neighborhood. Long story short, I think the days of vacation rentals in Las Vegas are ever increasingly coming to an end. Too much regulation is making it impossible to acquire properties, acquire licenses, and these restrictions make it substantially less profitable than it was before. Unless you buy a condo in the resort corridor, I think it's just all but a wrap. So let's quickly wrap up. Sales are at a record high. Median prices are still setting records. Supply is dwindling, and essentially every metric possible illustrates a housing market just on fire. Now, I don't expect too much to happen from now through January. It's naturally the slow time of year, and until we get some direction from Congress on the government stimulus package, I really don't expect the market to do a lot. Right now, we're really waiting on two events. First, what happens with that stimulus and rental evictions on January 1st? That's the first major challenge. The second major challenge will be the mortgage forbearance maturities in mid-April. While these events could affect the housing market, we also could continue to be resilient if buyers keep flocking from California to cheaper Nevada housing and taxes. With affordable housing being vaporized, don't be surprised to see some investors start picking up more rental properties. And then, if Biden gets his $15,000 tax credit, that could put some upward pressure on pricing as well. The next 6 months are actually going to be huge for the year 2021. All right, well, that's it for November, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to subscribe and please smash that like button because it helps. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and I'll see all of you next month.